Welcome back, guys, to another video. So today, or on the series that I want to start, we're going to be trying to build the AlgoExpert website. So this will be a tough one, guys. It'll be a tough one, and we'll see if we can manage or how far we can go with the site. So for those that don't know, AlgoExpert is a coding interview preparation site for you guys. If you want to try it out. Apparently it's good and it has results, so don't quote me on that. It's what I'm saying, what I see on YouTube, people are reviewing this. So this is just me trying out this site. It'll be a great tutorial and a great practice for me. So as you can see, this site most definitely was built by professionals, and I'm just a second year computer science student trying to make the YouTube tutorials. So on this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up our project. So we're going to be using MERN Stack, and what we're going to be also doing is we're going to be adding TypeScript to that, and we're going to be setting our own project from scratch using Webpack. Right, so now what we do is make directory. We want to make that direct client. So here I already have a Git repository, so once this tutorial is done, I'll also have the link to the startup project so that you guys can clone that and you can make use of that. So we're going to say client, and then there what we do is we're now in that client, so we want to say npm init, and then we say client version. So this is the front end to AlgoExpert clone. Right, entry that we leave it as that, and then author junior Shawana. Right, so that is basically it with our package.json. Right, so now what we want to do now is we now want to install certain packages. So when I say npm install, and then I say add babels. I love my terminal gave me this auto fill in based on how I use my my terminal on previous things and all that. So now while that is installing, we need to set up babel rc. So we can say touch.babel rc, and then we can also touch tsconfig, and then we code in there. Right, so we'll be setting up the few things that doesn't need a lot of heavyweight lifting, that is babel rc and the tsconfig. Right, so now we do that. So I hope this video doesn't take longer than expected. So now we say compiler options. I'm really lazy. Intelligence, come on. Now it's fine. So say compiler options. There we go. And in this compiler options, we want to say strict, set that to true. We want to say allow JS, set that to true. We want to say lib, and in that lib we want to use dom. We want to use dom.iterable. We want to have es next. Right, and then we want to skip default check, set that to true. Come on, skip lib check, set that to true. We want to have es module interop, we set that to true. We want to have allow synthetic default imports. We want to strict, I've already done that. We want to force that, set that to false, and then I need the module to be es next. I need the module resolution to be node. I need the resolution JSON model to be true. I need my JSX to be on React, and I need to remove all comments if I will be adding comments, so that's true. And what else do we need? What else do we need here? We want to set our target to ES5, right? So now this will be our compiler options. So now we need to set up babel. So before I set up babel, let's just add a .git ignore, because I don't want to have the node modules when I put this thing on git, so I don't forget. Alright, so now we come to babel RC. So now on babel RC I need presets, and on presets I need at babel slash preset dash env. I need at babel slash preset dash react at babel slash preset dash TypeScript. That's what I need. Right, now that should be basically it with babel.rc. There's nothing much to that. So now we need to come to, oh my goodness, what did I close? The Visual Studio Code. So now we want to come to Webpack Configurations, right? So now this is a bit lengthy part, but then let's just take it line by line. So we say webpack.config.js. Right, so now I need to install certain packages here. So what I need is npm install HTML loader. So this is why I love this terminal. So it's giving me everything that I need. So HTML loader, CSS loader, file loader, HTML Webpack plugin, Webpack CLI, Webpack dev server, style loader, babel loader, and we have those as dev dependencies. Right, so that's what I love about this terminal, remembering everything that I do on it. Right, so let's get that installing. While that is installing, let's start with configuring this thing. So say const path. So why I need this is we need to give this Webpack what we call an absolute path, so that it knows where to get the output, where to output the output. I hope that makes sense. So say module.exports. I don't know why my IntelliSense is delaying me. I don't like a non-IntelliSense text editor. So but then nonetheless we say output, and within that output we give it an object. We want to give it a file name, and that will come underneath that. The order doesn't matter, just like putting it like this. So when I give it a path, whereby we say path.resolve, and on resolving we want to give it a dir name, and we want to give it the folder where it should output this, where it should be public, and it should be build. And then we want to give it a file name. The file name, it will be bundle.js. Right, so this file name is the bundle that it has bundled out for me. Hopefully that made sense. So when I have resolve, so here we're resolving extensions, and those extensions are .js, .jsx, .ts. So the order doesn't matter, guys. It's just me doing like this. I don't know why. I could have swapped them around anyhow I want. So we have those file extensions that we're resolving. So we need to give Webpack certain rules. So we say module, and then we say rules. That is an array of objects. So we want to test using a regex if we have a JS file or a JSX, or should be one pipe, or TS or TSX. Again, this is not a must for you to have them aligned the way I have, as long as you have that. And then we want to exclude, before we use, we want to exclude node underscore modules. Right, so that's what we want to exclude. And then we want to use a certain loader right now, and that loader will be babel dash loader. Right, so that's the loader that we want to be using. And then we want to have another test that will be for HTML.html, and we give it a $, give it like that. And then for that HTML, what we want to use is we want to use the HTML loader that we installed there, right? So we say use loader, that will be the HTML loader, right? So I don't like things being like this, so forgive me on that. I just like opening things up with this, having it like this, right? So HTML loader, right? So we have that set up like that, HTML loader. So now we want to have another loader for another test, so we're going to say that .css, and then we give it a $, and then we give it that, and then give it an I, right? So now what we want to do is for that CSS we need a loader, so we say use style dash loader, and we want to use CSS dash loader, right? Why did I take a screenshot? I don't know. So now once we're done with that, we need to handle files as well, because I think most definitely we'll be using files. So here we say for PNG, for JPEGs or JPG, or we use a GIF, and then I want to be able to handle that, and the way I use that is we'll be using a loader that will be file dash loader, right? So now we basically done with everything that we need in terms of like handling things. If there's anything else, we'll add to that. So now what we want to do is we need plugins, right? So that our Webpack can handle auto importing the bundle and all that for us, and the CSS. So say HTML plugin is equals to require, and I want to require HTML-Webpack plugin, right? So there is an object, and with the plugins we need to go outside of the modules and then set up plugins. There's an array, so we say new HTML plugin, and this takes in certain options. So the options that this takes in, it is the file name, and this file name will give you the index.html, and it also takes in the template. So the template would be dot and then public slash index.html. So now that should be the plugins. So now we need to set up our dev server, right? So with our dev server, what I want to do is we want to say history. I want to say history API for back. This should be true. So what this means is, it looks like I'm having an array instead of object, so you have to say an object. Sorry for that. So what this does is you have to know that with single page application, when you go to a contact page, it falls back to the index.html. When you go to the about page, it still falls back to the index.html. So that's what we basically telling Webpack to do there. So I want to give that a port of 3000, just a standard React port that I also like to maintain, even though I set up my own whatever Webpack. Right, so now basically we're done with Webpack. If there's any errors, I hope there isn't, guys. So now let's start with our file structure. So we need that public that we said this should be that, and the template will be index.html. We give that, and we say AlgoExpert clone, and then here we give it a div, and that div will be having an ID of root, and you guys can give it anything as app, whatever, right? So now that should be it. So now let's create our source folder, not inside the public but then outside the public. I want to create a source folder whereby we'll be having index.tsx and we'll be having app.tsx. So here we will say tsrefce. So this is TypeScript snippets. I will show you guys that once we're done with the setting up, so not to waste time. So say class name, say app. So I'm just ignoring those errors, I'll address those now. So we say h1, we say AlgoExpert clone. So yeah, we're getting this errors. Why are we getting this errors? Because we don't have type declarations for that TypeScript. So now what we do is we say npm install React. So look at that. So we install React, React DOM, and npm I add types of React and React DOM as dev dependencies. So we get that installed. So now once that is done, it will clear out those errors. So now I want to import React DOM, but then I want to destructure React DOM. Instead of doing it like that, I want to destructure that render from React DOM, and I say render, and then I import the app, and then standard procedures document.get element by ID, and that ID should be root. And then why is this thing getting it? Cannot, did you mean document? What the hell is happening with this thing? Okay, so let's just wait for those React things to apply and all that. So while that is doing, and here let's create a folder called style sheets, because we need to test also if our CSS is working just fine with Webpack, and then say style sheet, and then yeah, we will say app.css. So we'll say that, and then we'll give it a margin of 0, give it a padding of 0, give it a color so that it's visible that CSS is working, give it a color of red, and those errors are now getting removed. And what is happening? Oh yeah, because I have document written wrong, so it should be document.get element by ID. Okay, I legit didn't see that coming there. So now we want to set up our package JSON so that our Webpack can be working right now. In the script we don't have any tests, so there's no reason for us to have that. So we'll say start, and then we'll say Webpack serve, right? And then we need a build script, and then we'll also clean up that build script a bit so that when we get further, well, you'll see where the cleaning up process will come up. So the fingers crossed that all this should be working just fine. But then, you know, with programming you don't get it correct at the same time. So let's see. So npm start. I just hope there's no errors, man. Like, oh goodness, there we go. So now it worked. Let's see. I expect to see a color of red of AlgoExpert, and from there I'll definitely know that this worked, so that we can continue with this, right? So now we have that, so that we can start up setting up the back end side, and then it should be whoo. So oh, I didn't import the style sheet. Okay, so let's not blame Webpack on that. Let's not blame that. So import style sheet and then app.css, right? So it is compiling there, and then let's see once it's done compiling for us if that changes. I would be really glad, so that I really don't want to make this video long. So let's see. So it's compiled with warnings, without warning. Did it say warnings? But then we have that color changing, so it tells us that our Webpack style sheet is working perfectly fine. So but then now we need to improve. Let's see if we build, right? So let's say npm run build. So now build, I expect a build folder within the public, And that is what I expect from this thing. So let's see if that works just fine for us. Right, so we're actually doing great. So it successfully built this thing by the looks of it. So when we come here, public, we see that build folder, we see that index, and it hopefully auto imported everything that we need, and it did. It auto imported all that. That is perfect. So now what I need to do is, if you guys, once we done with this project, if you guys want to deploy this for your portfolios and everything, just to impress your potential clients and everything, web caching is what you want to also handle within Webpack. So for web caching is, if I'm describing this properly, is when you deploy your site, there are changes that you'll definitely make in the future, for example. So you do not want users to be using the old static files and all that because of the browser caching in the static files. So you always want the browser to be having the latest static files. So how we do that is we add in the file name, we add here a full hash, right? So that's what we want to add always, so that on your website you have different hashes that forces the browser to grab those static files. So now once we do that, you guys will see the build that will come up. So we'll say npm run build. Right, so let's see that. So now we're getting closer to finishing up with Webpack, so that we can go to the server side. Right, so now that is done. So now we can close these things. So when we come to this build, you can see that we have now that as a hash, right? So but then the problem arises when we do this. So now let's say we add another thing, so it is bound to give us another hash once we change. So if I say AlgoExpert clone built by me and you, right? So let's build that. You guys will see that we'll have another hash, but then also remaining with that last hash. That is something that we don't want to do, so that's something that we want to handle. So I'm just showing you guys so that you guys see what we actually are trying to achieve with what we do. Right, so now that is done. So now let's go back to this app, and you can see we have two hashes here, which is something that we don't want. So now how do we circumvent this? Right, you could use a plugin, which I'm not going to be using. So you can use a plugin which is called Clean Loader, I think. So but then what I'll definitely do myself is I'll say, before I run build, I want to remove the build in the public and then run Webpack. So that's how I will circumvent everything to clean up and then run build. Right, so now let's test that out. So we can just run build right now, npm run build, and then see how that works. And then we change something there, make sure that we're not getting the same options there. Right, so that's how we're gonna be handling things, or that's how I like to handle things. So we have that build. So but then now let's change one more thing so that we can see that everything is working. And then we say so excited. Right, so right now we expect only 3 files within our build, nothing more, nothing less. So npm run build, and then let's see how that pans out. Right, so that should be finishing right now. There we go. So let's see. So in that build we have another hash, but then it's not having more hashes and all that. So that's basically it with our React configurations for TypeScript and using Webpack. So this is how you do that. If I was moving too fast, you guys know that you can always go back to this video. So now let's go to the server side. That's where we want to set up Node. So what we do is, because I like using my node outside the root directory. So if you guys see, I have the client and the readme. I like using it right there in the root, on the project root directory. So so what we'll be doing here is we'll say npm init, and then we'll keep it like that. Say this is the backend to AlgoExpert clone, and then entry, I like it to be server.js. That is a personal preference. You guys could have left it as that, but then we'll definitely change that. We will definitely change that. So say junior Hlongwane, keep it like that. So right now what I need is just npm install. So what I need to install is Express, and I need to install so that we start up a basic server so that we can see that it works. And I need to install because I have TypeScript installed globally, so I ran sudo apt install, so install TypeScript. So I have not sudo man, I npm, sudo npm install TypeScript-g. I've already done this, so there's no need for me to do that, but then you guys can run that. And for Windows users, I believe that you guys have to run your terminal as admin. So install Express and end npm install, and then npm install at types of node, at types of Express, and that should basically give me a basic server if I'm not mistaken, right? So this is what we're gonna be needing right now, and I can just install node -d, right? So this is what we'll be needing just as a starter set up for our backend. So now once that is doing its thing, let's just go into VS Code on the root directory of the project. So here what we want to do is set up a TS config for this thing. So we also need a .git ignore because we don't want to have what we call the server node modules file to be sent over to GitHub. So that's what we're going to be ignoring, and then we say node underscore modules, and that should be it for now. Okay, cancel. I did save though. And then what then do we do? So now what we do is we need a ts config. So say ts config .json, and in this ts config it will be a little bit different to the React config, but then most of the things you guys will see that it's similar, just like this. We did have this on the React, and also the es interp op, we set that to true. This for importing, and then my target, I'll give it an ES6, and then module, come on, why am I not failing to type? Module resolution, set that to node, and then source map, set that to true, and then strict, set that to true, and then here I'll give it an out directory, so that's where it differs a bit. So the out directory is the dist, or maybe I could say build, so it's whatever that you guys like. Anything is perfect. And then the base URL, so this is for us when we run TypeScript. So as we know that the base, it's in this folder, that root folder, and then we need to give it paths, and within that path we want to exclude anything besides node modules, right? So that is what this thing is saying to the compiler, anything besides modules and its descendants, if I could say it like that. And then we want to include, so we have that comma, so we want to include everything within the source folder. So we say source / that. So everything that is there we want to include. So this is basically it with the compiler options for our back end. This should be enough, and yeah, this should be enough. So now what we want to do is we want to go to our package.json, and then in our package.json we want to set up scripts, and then the script is the build. So with build, what we do is want to say tsc, and then we want to set up dev. So with dev we want to say tsc-w for watch, so that it watches any changes, and node-mon for us to use node-mon. You guys know what node-mon is doing, right? So we want to start, so we want to say ts, so this is for production, so we'll say tsc and node. Right, so this will be the scripts that we will be using. And now we need to change this main entry. Like I said, we're going to be changing this main entry. So the main entry, it is basically where this output will be, and the output, it is basically build/server.js. So I like to have my entry folder as server.js. You guys can have index.js, whatever that you guys prefer. So the backend was fairly simple, but then let's test it out to see that it does actually work. So here we create a folder called source, and here we create a server.ts, not tsx, but then the ts, and I want to import express from express. And then what else do I need? I think that should be it. And then we'll say const app express, because here we're just setting up everything, making sure that everything works. Say app.listen on port 5000. So noting that this is just testing that all our configs are working. And then we say server started on, let's just say server started, because we're gonna obviously erase this whole entire thing. So now let's just run our script and let's see if that works. So we'll say npm run dev. So let's see if that works. Ooh, so compilation, starting compilation in watch mode. Import cannot use statement import outside a module. What is this thing saying to me? What is this thing saying to me? See, now this is what I hate. Okay, let's npm run build. Let's see if that build works. See, this is what I hate about these things. Let's see. Okay, that build says as if it worked. Okay, it did work. We have that server.js. It did work, and it's giving us ES6 whatnots. So it is working. So but then now, what is causing my what is causing my dev not to run? So I have tsc-w and the node-mon, and I have node-mon installed. I thought maybe, and I had flagged this as dev dependency. So definitely, guys, I will be changing this. It's just I won't be doing this now because obviously there's debugging and everything. So then I'll definitely be changing that. So but then I think this should not be that much of a hassle. So because we have that base URL as the dot there, so I highly believe it is just because of the dot. So let's just run that. Let's see. So npm run dev. So let's see. Starting compilation in watch mode, and then we need to see server started. That's what we need to see, so that we get started with our project on the next video. Oh my goodness, what is happening with this thing? Warning to load an ES module, set type module in package.json. Why do I need that? Okay. Let's say module. Hold on. Okay, I see that it worked, but then why do I need this type module? Doesn't make sense to me. I can see that worked, as you can see, guys, there. Let's say server started somewhere there. I don't know why I need that node module thing. Okay, let's just edit, because apparently it's what's needed. So let's say type, and let's say module. Right, that's what's needed to run this thing, and then we have that working just fine. Right, so basically I guess we just needed that type module to be working, and then we have our server configurations running just fine for us, and then we have TypeScript working. So right now what we did is just set up our development environment for the React app, for the Node and Express. So on the next video we'll be now starting with building the application. So I hope you guys are keen as I am. I'm really excited for this. It'll be a really long challenge, which I'd like to see where I'll go far with this. And if you guys like this video, and if you guys are keen for this series, please like, share and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you guys are part of the notification gang. And I'll see you guys on the next video.